Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Famuyiwa, your host of Fertile Talks, and I am brimming with excitement today because today I want to go a deep dive into some basic science. So bear with me, it won't be too hard, but we're going to be talking about what is called endometrial stem cells. I call them the architects of regeneration and disease. Now, the question you want to ask is, what are stem cells? Stem cells are those basic progenitor cells, the initial cells that can be programmed or redirected by your DNA or your environment to evolve into other more mature cells, such as your heart cells, your muscle cells, your bone cells. But anyway, so the interesting thing is we never think about it, but recently there's more data coming out that shows that the endometrium, the inside of the uterus, has its own unique cells, its own unique stem cells, right? And they are very important in the proper functioning of your endometrial layer, right? So if you think about it, every month a woman, well, if they're still premenopausal, especially when they start their menstrual cycle, they go through a phase where they grow their endometrial layer and then they shed their endometrial layer, right? They shed it in the form of a menstrual flow. And the next month, that same thing happens again, and then they shed. Well, there are cells that actually are very crucial for the proper growth of that endometrial layer. Those cells are called stem cells. And researchers have found that there are three main types of this endometrial stem cells slash progenitor cells. Number one is what is called the endometrial epithelial stem cells. These are responsible for growing and regenerating the epithelial layer of the endometrium. The second one is called the endometrial mesenchymal cells. And these are found around blood vessels, and they also help to control immune regulation of the endometrial layer. And then there are other cells called side population cells, SB cells. And these are important in tissue repair. Taken together, these cells are called menstrual stem cells, right? And these menstrual stem cells can be readily accessible, guess what? From menstrual blood, right? So let's look at one of the roles of the endometrial stem cells, especially the menstrual stem cells in regenerative medicine. They're abundant, they're easy to collect, and they have excellent proliferation and differentiation abilities. And they've been shown to differentiate under different conditions into varied cell types. And these were experiments that, admittedly, they were done in an animal platform, but they were able to control these basic stem cells and help them differentiate into bone, cartilage, muscle, and even neural tubes, neural cells that are important for the brain and spine. So who knows? They may be important in helping people who have paralysis in the future. So there's a unique function that they also were able to find out. These stem cells were able to regenerate the lining in women who have extensive intrauterine adhesions. Now, I know my patients who have this would love to hear this tale. It's not out there yet, it's still in animal studies. When a woman has extensive intrauterine adhesions, the inside of her uterus has been scarred shut. I mean, it's like somebody poured in crazy glue mixed in with cement and shoved it in the uterus. It's that stuck. And when the layer of the endometrium is no longer present, it cannot regenerate. Therefore, they cannot implant. Therefore, they cannot get pregnant. Well, they have used studies to find out that using these stem cells, they were able to recreate the lining of the uterus in women who have this extensive adhesions. And in animal models, they not only regenerated the endometrial layer, they were actually able to restore fertility in cases of severe intrauterine adhesions. They have been able to use tissue engineering where they've been seeded onto scaffold to create new tissue for repair and regeneration. Anyway, another thing that makes these menstrual stem cells unique is they have what is called immunomodulatory properties. In other words, they interact with our immune cells, such as your T cells and dendritic cells, that are important for showing the antigen to your body so it can react to it. They can control that interaction between foreign tissue and your immune system, and they help to reduce inflammation and promote tissue repair. So they're actually promising candidates for treating immune-related diseases and reducing rejection and open transplant. So let's shift gears to a more complex and often misunderstood condition, such as endometriosis. Now, endometriosis, you've probably heard me on different episodes talk about this a lot, occurs when the endometrial tissue, the tissue that's supposed to shed out of your uterus, is found outside the uterus in other areas that it has no business being in. And in those areas, it causes pain, infertility, and other complications. So the paper that I read, they proposed that the endometrial stem cells may play a key role in the development of endometriosis. Now, how does this work? So during menses, some endometrial cells, including the stem cells, can flow backwards through the fallopian tube into the pelvic cavity. That process is called retrograde menstruation. In most women, these cells are cleared up by the immune system, and you never hear about it. But in some cases, these cells survive, they implant, and they grow, and that causes endometriosis. So, and it also, when they do that, the paper I was reading shows that they also attract other stem cells, such as the ones that are coming from the bone marrow, called the bone marrow derived stem cells, and circulating, the endometrial cells that happen to get into the blood tissue. And these other stem cells, they're recruited to the party. They're recruited to the endometrial lesions where they can promote growth of new blood vessels and tissue. And these can cause migration of all these endometriotic implants into distant tissue. And that would explain why some people have endometriosis found in their lungs. That's crazy, but it can happen. So, what does that mean for the future of treatment? Well, there's suggestion from new science that you can use this knowledge to target the aberrant endometrial stem cells and control where they spread and even possibly treat endometriosis and other reproductive tissue by blocking some of the signaling pathways that is used to recruit the bone marrow stem cells to join the party. You got to break up the party, let them go home, right? And there have been drugs that are being created that are showing promises in this, and albeit preclinical animal-based studies. So the future is ripe for hope here. So key takeaway, let's wrap it up in a key takeaway. Endometrial stem cells, they're crucial for regeneration of the endometrium and have significant potential in regenerative medicine. Menstrual stem cells are showing themselves to be a promising source of stem cells for treating conditions such as intrauterine adhesions and premature ovarian failure. They can actually, under certain conditions, be programmed to evolve back into um, eggs, premature egg cells that can now grow into mature eggs and hopefully maybe restore fertility in some women. The endometrial stem cells also, not the menstrual stem cells, play a key role in the development of endometriosis. And so targeting these cells could lead to new treatments for this very debilitating condition. Um, and we also know that bone marrow derived stem cells and the circulating endometrial cells can also contribute to endometriosis. So this highlights the complexity of this disease. So the long and short of it, research is underway. It's not available just yet, but it really would give a hope to women who are very suffering from these very devastating conditions. So, anyway, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Fertile Talks. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe, to like, and to share, and to leave us a comment. It helps us continuing the mission of disseminating information. Thank you once again. This is Dr. Famuyiwa.